Welcome back. This channel exists because of your support. Subscribe, hit like, and share your thoughts in the comments. Now let's get into the story. She's standing in the doorway of my home office, backlit by the hallway light, so I can't see her face clearly. I know this is intentional. Bridget's been choosing shadows lately, positioning herself where I can't read her expression, where she doesn't have to meet my eyes. "Owen," she says softly, and her voice carries that tremor I've learned to recognize. It's the sound of someone working up courage to ask a question they already know the answer to. I don't look up from my laptop. The words on the screen haven't registered for the past 20 minutes anyway. I've been staring at the same paragraph about attachment theory, letting the sentences blur into meaningless shapes. It's ironic, really. I spend my days helping couples understand their attachment patterns, and here I am, unable to look at my own wife. Why won't you touch me anymore? There it is. The question I've been waiting for. 47 days. That's how long it's been since I've touched her with anything resembling affection. 47 days since I discovered the messages on her iPad. 47 days of dying slowly while she went about her life, checking her phone at dinner, smiling at texts she thought I couldn't see. I close the laptop and lean back in my chair. The leather creaks. Outside, Minneapolis is settling into a cold November evening. I can see our reflection in the window. Two people in the same room who might as well be strangers. Do you really not know why? I ask. She steps into the office, her arms wrapped around herself. She's wearing the sweater I bought her last Christmas, the soft gray one that brings out her eyes. I wonder if that's calculated too. If she's performing vulnerability the way she's been performing our entire marriage. No, I don't know why. Her voice rises slightly. One day everything was fine, and then you just stopped. You moved into this office. You look at me like I'm someone you're studying instead of someone you love. I stand slowly, my hands gripping the edge of the desk. The words want to pour out. 6 weeks of them, building pressure behind my ribs until I can barely breathe. But I'm good at control. It's what I do for a living. Or, I say quietly, "Are you asking because you need me to say it out loud so you can finally stop pretending?" Her face goes pale. I watch it happen in real time, the color draining from her cheeks as understanding dawns. She takes a step back. "Owen, what are you talking about?" I move to the window, putting distance between us. The city lights reflect off the glass towers downtown. North Loop used to feel vibrant to me, full of possibility. Now it just feels cold. I'm a therapist, Bridget. I recognize emotional transference. I recognize when someone's primary attachment has shifted. I don't understand what you're. Don't. The word comes out sharper than I intended. I take a breath, forcing myself back into that clinical space where I can observe without feeling. Please don't touch me with hands that have been holding someone else's heart. The silence stretches between us. I can hear her breathing, quick and shallow. When I finally turn to look at her, I see it. The panic, the recognition, the desperate scrambling for words that might make this not be happening. "I can explain," she whispers. "I don't want explanations tonight." I grab my coat from the back of the chair. "I want you to think very carefully about what you're going to say, because I already know the truth." "Owen, please. I'm going to drive." I move past her, catching the scent of her perfume. It's new, something she started wearing a few months ago. I remember noticing it, filing it away with all the other small changes I'd cataloged. "You should think about whether you want to be honest or whether you want to keep lying." I leave the apartment before she can respond. The elevator ride down feels endless. 12 floors to process the fact that after 6 weeks of watching and waiting, hoping she'd come clean on her own, the confrontation has finally begun. 6 weeks of waiting. And now it starts. Let me tell you about the moment I stopped being her husband and started being a therapist observing a case study. It was a Tuesday morning, September 23rd. I'd taken the day off to catch up on paperwork, something I rarely do. Bridget had already left for work at the nonprofit where she manages their social media. We'd kissed goodbye at the door. A routine peck, the kind married people give each other without thinking. I made coffee. The machine hissed and gurgled, filling our kitchen with that rich, dark smell. NPR played on the speaker. Something about climate policy. I wasn't really listening. Bridget's iPad was on the counter, next to her abandoned coffee cup. She'd been scrolling through something over breakfast, probably checking her feeds before heading out. I picked up the cup to put it in the dishwasher, and that's when the notification popped up. "Last night changed everything for me. You see me, Keith. Really see me." I stood there, holding her coffee cup, staring at those words on the screen. The rational part of my brain said I should put the iPad down. Privacy, respect, trust, all those foundations I preach about in my practice. But I'm also a therapist. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I recognize the language in that message. The emphasis on C. The intensity of changed everything. These weren't casual words. This was crisis language. Attachment language. I told myself I was concerned for her well-being as I unlocked the screen and opened messages. Told myself I was being a responsible partner, checking to make sure she was okay. The thread with Keith went back to early August. Almost 2 months of messages, over 200 in total. I scrolled through them with the kind of clinical detachment I use when reviewing case notes. Professional, analytical, not feeling. Early August. It's so refreshing to talk to someone who gets it. Owen's wonderful with his clients, but sometimes I feel like he's forgotten how to just talk to me. Mid-August. I told my group today about my fear of becoming my mother. How she stayed in a marriage that looked perfect but felt empty. You really listened. September. I think about our conversations when I should be working. Is that terrible? Last week. I feel more myself with you than I have in years. Owen's brilliant with his clients, but with me, he's just going through the motions. You actually listen. Keith Brennan. The name triggered immediate recognition. I knew exactly who he was. I'd counseled him 2 years ago, marriage counseling after his wife's affair. 6 months of sessions. I remembered his anger, his sense of betrayal, his talk of revenge in our final session. I'd noted it in his file. Concerning, but he'd stopped coming, and I'd assumed he'd moved on. He knew who I was. He had to. He'd been seeing my wife, messaging her for 4 months, and he knew exactly who her husband was. This wasn't random. This was calculated. I screenshot every message. Methodical. Organized. Backed them up to a separate cloud account. Then I closed the iPad and set it back on the counter exactly where I'd found it. The coffee machine had long since finished brewing. I poured a cup with steady hands and sat at the kitchen table. Outside, September sunshine made everything look golden and warm. Inside, I was making a decision. I wouldn't confront her immediately. I would watch, observe, gather data, see if guilt brought her back to me, see if she'd confess on her own. I would give her the chance to be honest. For 6 weeks, I watched my wife lie to my face every single day. I drive through the city without destination, letting muscle memory guide the car through familiar streets. Past the Guthrie Theater, over the Stone Arch Bridge, along the river where the old flour mills stand like monuments to industry that's moved on. My phone buzzes. Bridget. I silence it without reading. Eventually, I find myself pulling into a parking lot near Boom Island Park. The Mississippi flows dark and steady. A few joggers pass on the path, their breath visible in the November air. I should be home right now, having dinner, talking about our days. That's what married people do. Instead, I'm sitting in my car, trying to decide what happens next. My phone buzzes again. This time I look. Please come home. I need to explain. Nothing happened. Please. Nothing happened. That's what they all say. My clients. The ones who come in after affairs are discovered. Nothing happened. It was just talking. It didn't mean anything. But I know better. Emotional affairs are worse than physical ones. Physical betrayal is about momentary weakness, fleeting desire. Emotional betrayal is about sharing the parts of yourself that should be reserved for your partner. It's about giving away intimacy, authenticity, truth. She gave Keith the real her, and she gave me a performance. Another text. I ended it. I called him. It's over. Please just come home so we can talk. I stare at those words for a long time. She ended it. Because I caught her, not because she chose to stop. That's the part she doesn't understand yet. The why matters. I start the car and drive home. It's nearly midnight when I walk back into the apartment. Bridget's in the living room, curled up on the couch, clutching her phone. Her face is blotchy from crying. Part of me wants to comfort her, to fall back into the role of supportive husband. But that part is drowned out by the part that's been dying for 6 weeks. She looks up when I enter, her eyes red and hopeful and terrified all at once. It's not what you think, she says immediately. I hang my coat on the rack by the door, taking my time. Then tell me what it is. But tell me the truth, because I will know if you're lying. She stands, wringing her hands. I've never seen her this agitated. Usually, she's so composed, so in control of her image. This raw version feels like meeting a stranger. I met Keith at a support group, she begins. Her voice trembles. For partners of people in therapy professions. It's called Therapist Spouses Anonymous. I know it sounds stupid, but I was feeling lonely, and I thought maybe talking to people who understood. When did you join this group? July. Early July. And when did it become more than group meetings? She looks down. August. We started messaging. About the group stuff at first. Then it became more personal. Personal how? Just talking. About life. About feeling invisible. About. She stops herself. About me? I finish for her. About how your husband, the marriage therapist, is so good with his clients, but has forgotten how to be present with you. Her head snaps up. You read the messages. Every single one. I move to the chair opposite the couch, maintaining distance. September 23rd. You left your iPad on the counter. Oh God. She sits back down heavily. Owen, I swear, nothing physical happened. We never even met in person alone. It was just messages. Just talking. I lean forward, resting my elbows on my knees. You're right. Nothing physical happened. You just gave him every real emotion you had while giving me a performance. That's not fair, isn't it? I keep my voice level. Professional. I'm a marriage therapist, Bridget. I spend my days helping people communicate. And my own wife couldn't tell me she was unhappy. Instead, she told Keith Brennan. Her face goes white. You know who he is. He was my client. 2 years ago. Marriage counseling after his wife's affair. She's shaking now, her hands gripping the edge of the couch cushion. I didn't know. Not at first. I swear. Owen, I didn't know. When did you find out? October. About a month ago. He told me. And you didn't stop. It's not a question, but she answers anyway. I should have. I know I should have. But by then, she stops, swallows hard. By then I'd already shared so much with him. And I didn't think it mattered because we were just talking. I stand and move to the window, looking out at our city. Our life. Everything we've built over 11 years together. You gave him the part of you I was still believing in. What does that mean? I turn to face her. It means I fell in love with a woman who was real with me. Vulnerable. Authentic. That woman disappeared somewhere along the way, and you replaced her with someone who performs being happy. Meanwhile, you gave the real you to Keith. The you that shares fears. The you that admits struggles. The you that asks for help. That's the you I married. And you gave her to someone else. Bridget stands, moving toward me with desperate energy. Please, Owen. Touch me. Hold me. Show me we can fix this. I step back before she can reach me. I can't. Why? Why won't you touch me? The question hangs in the air between us. This is the moment. This is where I either fall back into old patterns or I stand in my truth. Because you gave someone else the part of you I was still believing in, I say quietly. The real you. The vulnerable you. The you that shares fears and dreams and truth. You gave that to Keith while giving me a wife who performs. And I don't know if I can ever trust what's real with you again. She's crying openly now, sinking back onto the couch. What do you want me to do? I pull out my phone and open the screenshot folder. I want you to understand what you've destroyed. For the next hour, I show her the evidence. Every message, every date, every vulnerable moment she shared with Keith instead of with me. I recite them like a clinical presentation, my voice steady even as each word feels like swallowing glass. September 15th, 2:37 p.m. I told Keith about my fear of becoming my mother. Trapped in a marriage that looks perfect but feels empty. Did you ever tell me that fear, Bridget? She shakes her head, unable to speak. October 2nd, 9:15 p.m. Owen asked if I was okay today, and I said I was fine. But I wasn't fine. I wanted to tell him about the panic attack I had at work, about feeling like I'm drowning. But he looked so tired from his day of fixing other people's problems. So I told Keith instead. I'm sorry, she whispers. October 29th, just last week. Keith understands me in a way Owen doesn't anymore. Or maybe Owen never did. Maybe I've always been performing for him. She's sobbing now, her whole body shaking. I should feel satisfaction, vindication. Instead, I just feel tired. You want to know the worst part? I sit down across from her again. It's not the affair itself, though God knows that hurts. It's knowing that Keith Brennan knew exactly what he was doing. She looks up, tears streaming down her face. What do you mean? His ex-wife left him for her boss. He was devastated, angry, In our last session, he said something that stuck with me. He said, "I want someone to feel what I felt." I thought he was just processing. Now I understand. He meant it. Recognition dawns on her face. He knew who you were from the beginning. Yes, he started that support group specifically to meet vulnerable partners of therapists. You weren't his first choice, Bridget. You were his opportunity, and you participated. For 4 months. You had agency in this. But he manipulated. Yes, he manipulated you. But you still chose, every single day, to continue. You chose to share your real self with him instead of working on our marriage. You chose to delete messages and hide your phone and lie to my face when I asked if everything was okay. She wraps her arms around herself, rocking slightly. I ended it. When you left tonight, I called him, told him it was over, that I'd been a fool. Only because I found out. Would you have ended it otherwise? The silence is her answer. I stand, suddenly exhausted beyond measure. I'm sleeping in the office tonight. Tomorrow, we talk about what happens next. What does that mean? It means I need time to think, to process, to decide if there's anything left worth saving. I grab a pillow and blanket from the hall closet. When I return to the office, she's still sitting on the couch, crying quietly. I close the door between us and lie down on the floor. For 6 weeks, I've been operating on professional training, observing, analyzing, documenting. But lying here in the dark, staring at the ceiling of my own home office, I finally let myself feel it. The betrayal, the loss, the unbearable weight of knowing that the person I loved most couldn't be real with me. And I cry. Morning comes with weak November light filtering through the office blinds. My back aches from sleeping on the floor. I'm 41 years old, too old for this kind of physical discomfort. But maybe that's fitting. Everything hurts now. There's a soft knock on the door. Owen, I made coffee. I sit up slowly, joints protesting. Come in. Bridget enters carrying 2 mugs. She's still wearing yesterday's clothes. Her eyes are swollen, and she looks like she hasn't slept at all. She sets 1 mug on my desk and sits in the chair I usually reserve for clients. The irony isn't lost on me. I wrote everything down, she says, pulling folded pages from her pocket. Every conversation. Every time I chose to message him instead of talk to you. You deserve the truth. I take the pages, unfold them. Her handwriting fills both sides of 3 sheets. I start reading. She writes about feeling invisible, about how I was present for my clients but absent for her, about Keith making her feel special, seen, chosen. She admits it was inappropriate, but says she convinced herself it was just talking. Harmless. The moment I knew it crossed the line, she's written, was when I started checking my phone before checking on you. When his messages became more important than your presence. When I started lying about where I was and who I was talking to. I was falling in love with the attention, even if not with him. I set the pages down and look at her. Can we try therapy? She asks. Together? With someone neutral? I almost laugh. I am a therapist, and I can't therapize my way out of this. Then someone else. Please, we can work on this. I'll do whatever it takes. Do you still have feelings for him? She hesitates. Too long. I ended it. Last night, I called him in. That's not what I asked. She looks down at her hands. I developed an attachment. Not love, but connection. Real connection. There it is. What we had wasn't real connection. Our entire marriage, everything I thought we shared, was performance. And she found authenticity with someone else. Then you have your answer. I say quietly. I can't compete with real connection when ours was apparently just performance. Owen, please. I'm going to my brother's in Milwaukee. For 2 weeks. When I come back, we'll decide what happens next. You mean divorce? I pick up the coffee, take a sip. It's made exactly how I like it. Dark, no sugar. She remembers that much. I mean, we both need space to think clearly. She's crying again, but I can't comfort her. I don't have it in me. I pack a bag while she watches from the doorway. Clothes, laptop, therapy books I won't read. When I'm ready to leave, she follows me to the door. I love you, Owen. I know I destroyed it, but I do love you. I pause with my hand on the doorknob. I believe you believe that. But love without trust is just a word. Nathan's house in Bayview is exactly what I need. Smaller than mine, lived in, real. My brother answers the door in worn jeans and a Brewers t-shirt, takes one look at my face, and pulls me into a hug. Jesus, Owen. Come in. We sit at his kitchen table with beers we're drinking too early in the day, and I tell him everything. Nathan listens without interrupting, the way he's always been good at. When I finish, he shakes his head. The therapist irony is almost funny. Almost. You spend all day helping people fix marriages. Did you forget to maintain your own? It's a fair question. I take a long drink. I got comfortable. Assumed she was fine because she never said otherwise. Professional hazard, I guess. I'm so used to people volunteering their problems. She should have told you. We both failed, I admit. But she chose to fail with someone else. Nathan leans back in his chair. Tell me about this Keith guy. So I do. I tell him about Keith's sessions 2 years ago, his ex-wife's affair, his devastation and anger. The final session where he said he wanted someone to feel what he felt. He targeted your wife, Nathan says flatly. This wasn't random. I know. But Bridget still chose to participate. What are you going to do? I stare at my beer bottle. I don't know. End it, probably. But I need to be sure. The truth is, I'm a marriage therapist. I know marriages can survive infidelity. I've helped dozens of couples rebuild trust after affairs. I know the statistics, the recovery process, the steps to healing. But I also know what I need in a marriage. Emotional intimacy, authenticity, and Bridget gave those to someone else. Can she give them back? Would I even believe them if she tried? Over the next 5 days, Bridget texts me regularly. I document each message, noting my internal response the way I would with a client case. Thursday, I miss you. The apartment is too quiet. My thought, good. She should feel the absence. Friday, I'm in therapy. Started today. Actually started. Not just the group, real therapy. My thought, should have done that before destroying us. Monday, Keith came by. I didn't let him in. But he says you're making me choose based on pride, not love. That you're manipulating me. That one makes me call her. He came to our apartment? I ask when she answers. Yes. I told him to leave. Her voice is small, scared. Bridget, listen carefully. Keith is not your friend. He's not your confidant. He's a damaged man using you to hurt me. He says you're just saying that because you can't handle. Did I ever tell you why his marriage ended? Pause. He said his wife cheated. She did. And he's been planning revenge ever since. You were the weapon, Bridget. He knew who I was from the first conversation. The silence on the other end stretches. Then, quietly, he knew who you were the whole time? Yes. Oh God, Owen. I can hear her crying. Block his number. Don't respond to him. If he shows up again, call the police. I'm so sorry. I'm so stupid. You're not stupid. You were vulnerable, and he's skilled at exploitation. That's what makes this hurt worse. When are you coming home? I look out Nathan's window at the Milwaukee skyline. I don't know yet. I'm still processing. I'm still deciding if there's a home to come back to. On Saturday, Nathan suggests we drive to Duluth, walk the lake walk along Superior. It's a 5-hour drive north, and we spend most of it in comfortable silence. Brothers who've known each other long enough that words aren't always necessary. November on Lake Superior is brutal. Wind cuts across the water like knives. Waves crash against the rocks with primal force. We walk the path along the shore, hands shoved deep in our pockets. Have you decided? Nathan finally asks. How do you decide to give up on someone you promised forever? You decide based on whether the person you promised still exists. I watch the waves. I know marriages can heal from this. I've counseled people through a fair recovery. I know the process. I know it's possible. But I also know what I need. Emotional intimacy. Authenticity. She gave those away, Nathan, to someone who was using her to get revenge on me. Can she give them back? That's the question, isn't it? I don't know if I believe them anymore. That's what emotional betrayal does. It makes everything suspect. We walk in silence for a while. The cold seeps through my jacket, but I don't care. Physical discomfort is easier than emotional pain. The worst part isn't what she did, I say. It's what it revealed. She could share her real self with Keith, but not with me. That means something was already broken before Keith appeared. Nathan stops walking, turns to face me. You're taking responsibility for her choices. I created space for someone else to fill. I got complacent. I stopped. Creating space and filling it are different choices, Nathan interrupts. You didn't betray her. She chose betrayal instead of conversation. Stop being her therapist, Owen. Be the hurt husband. And that's when I break. Standing on the lake walk with waves crashing and wind howling. I finally let myself cry. Really cry. Not the controlled tears from the other night. This is sobbing, gut-wrenching, the kind that bends you in half. Nathan just stands there beside me, steady and solid. I grieve for my marriage. For the trust we'll never get back. For the future I imagined that will never happen. For the woman I loved, who turned out to be someone I didn't really know. When the tears finally stop, I feel emptied out. Hollowed, but also somehow lighter. I've been processing this like a case study, I tell Nathan. But this is my life. My wife. My pain. Yeah, he says. It is. We walk back to the car in silence. On the drive home, I make a decision. Not the final decision, not yet, but a decision about what I need to know. After 10 days in Milwaukee, on a Monday evening, I drive back to Minneapolis. I don't tell Bridget I'm coming. I need to see our space, our life, without her performing for my arrival. When I open the door, I notice the changes immediately. Photos have been rearranged. Some of us together are gone, replaced by scenic prints. New throw pillows on the couch. She's been trying to make the apartment feel different. Fresh. Like we could start over. She emerges from the bedroom, surprised. You're back early. We need to have the real conversation. We sit in the living room, careful distance between us. Her on the couch, me in the chair. The way we've positioned ourselves feels symbolic. Separate territories. I need you to answer something honestly. I say, and I'll know if you're lying. Okay. When you were with Keith, talking, messaging, sharing, did you ever think, I wish this was Owen? She opens her mouth, closes it. The silence stretches. Finally, no. I thought, this is what I've been missing. The words hit like a physical blow. I knew the answer before I asked, but hearing it said out loud makes it real. That's what I needed to know. But I was wrong, she rushes on. I know that now. It was infatuation, not real connection. Just the excitement of something new. It doesn't matter what it was. I lean forward. What matters is you felt something with him you stopped feeling with me. And you didn't try to fix it with me. You found someone else. Her expression shifts. I see anger flash across her face. You're a therapist, Owen. You're supposed to be good at this. I shouldn't have to teach you how to be emotionally present. You're right. I failed too. I got complacent. I stopped trying. My agreement seems to surprise her. But when you felt us drifting, I continue. You had two choices. Pull me closer or find someone else to drift toward. You chose the latter. That's the choice I can't forgive. Keith manipulated this whole situation. Yes, he manipulated you. But you participated. For 4 months. You had agency. I ended it. Only because I found out. Would you have ended it otherwise? She looks down. I don't know. At least she's being honest now. She stands suddenly, moving toward me with desperate energy. Touch me. Please, Owen. Just hold me. Show me there's something left. I stand too, but I don't move toward her. I can't. Why? Why won't you touch me? Here it is again. The question that started all of this. Because you gave someone else the part of you I was still believing in. What does that mean? It means I fell in love with a woman who was real with me. Vulnerable. Authentic. That woman disappeared, and you replaced her with a performance. Meanwhile, you gave the real you to Keith. The you that shares fears. The you that admits struggles. The you that asks for help. That's the you I married. And you gave her to someone else. She's sobbing now. I'm right here. I'm trying to give her back. But I don't know if she's real anymore. Or if this is another performance. That's what emotional betrayal does. It makes everything suspect. I move to get my coat. I want a divorce. The words seem to echo in the sudden silence. Please, she whispers. Please don't give up on us. I'm not giving up. I'm recognizing when something is already gone. We broke something that can't be fixed. Not won't be fixed. Can't be. Owen, I'll move out fully. You can stay here. We'll mediate the division of assets. We'll tell our families together. We'll be civil, even kind. But we're done. She sinks back onto the couch. Did you ever love the real me? Or just who you thought I was? It's a good question. An honest one. I loved who you were with me. I say. But apparently, that wasn't the real you. What if it was? What if I'm most myself when I'm trying to be worthy of you? Then you needed to tell me when you stopped feeling worthy. Not find someone else to feel worthy with. I leave. This time for good. 2 days later, Bridget emails me a letter. I read it in Nathan's guest room. Still in Milwaukee, still processing. She writes about her childhood. Her father, emotionally distant. Her mother, performing happiness for decades. She learned early to compartmentalize, to show people what they wanted to see while hiding her real self. With me, at first, she felt safe enough to be authentic. But as my practice grew, as I became known as this successful marriage therapist, she felt the pressure to be the perfect wife. The woman who had it all together. The woman whose marriage was proof of my professional competence. She started performing. Keith offered an escape from that pressure. He didn't know the therapist's wife. He just knew Bridget. I know this doesn't excuse anything, she writes. But you asked why I could be real with him and not with you. The horrible truth is, I felt like I was failing at being your wife. I couldn't be real because the real me felt like a disappointment. She takes full responsibility. Admits she needed therapy years ago. Admits she chose the coward's path instead of honesty. I understand your decision, the letter ends. I don't accept it, but I understand it. You deserve someone who's brave enough to be real with you. I wasn't. I'm sorry. I read it 3 times. Her explanation makes psychological sense. I recognize the pattern. Performance anxiety in a relationship with a therapist is common. I've read studies about it. Understanding why doesn't change what happened. The wound remains. She could have told me this. Worked on it with me. Couples therapy. Individual therapy. Honest conversations over dinner about feeling pressure to be perfect. Instead, she acted out the problem rather than addressing it. I recognize something else too. We were both performing toward the end. She performed being happy. I performed being present. Neither was real. But I didn't seek authenticity elsewhere. That's the difference. Early January brings the kind of cold that makes Minneapolis feel like another planet. I'm in my new apartment in St. Paul's Lower Town neighborhood. Smaller. Minimalist. Mine. I've reduced my client load, taking a sabbatical to write a book. The topic, emotional intimacy in long-term relationships. The irony is not lost on me, but maybe that's the point. Maybe I can help others learn from my failures. I've joined a winter running group. We meet 3 times a week, running along the Mississippi River even when it's below zero. The physical pain helps. I'm also in supervision with a senior therapist, processing my own relationship patterns, learning to see my blind spots, understanding how I contributed to our marriage's decline. At a coffee shop one afternoon, I run into a couple I counseled 3 years ago. They're still together, thriving. The wife hugs me. We still use the tools you taught us, she says. Especially the one about authenticity being the only real foundation. After they leave, I sit with my coffee and think about that. I knew the truth. I taught the truth. I just couldn't live it. My phone rings. Bridget, I just wanted to let you know I signed the papers, she says. Her voice is calm, distant. And I'm moving to Chicago. Fresh start. When? Next week. I got a job with a bigger nonprofit. Better pay. Different city. That's good. You'll do well there. Silence on the line. Then, I'm in therapy now. Real therapy. Learning to be authentic without an audience. I'm glad. Are you doing okay? I'm learning to be. More silence. The comfortable kind, almost. I hope you find someone who deserves what you give, she says. I hope you find yourself first. Take care, Owen. You too, Bridget. We hang up. Just like that. 11 years together. And it ends with a cordial phone call about logistics and well wishes. I learned through the professional grapevine that Keith Brennan's license to run therapy groups was suspended. Ethics violation for exploiting a vulnerable group member. Someone reported him. Maybe Bridget. Maybe someone else he'd targeted. Small justice. But empty. I feel nothing toward Keith now. Just sadness for how damaged he must be, how broken by his own pain that he needed to break others to feel whole. Late February. I'm at the Minneapolis Institute of Art for a lecture on authenticity in art. I chose it intentionally, confronting the theme that's defined my last 4 months. I sit next to a woman who smiles as she settles into her seat. Is this taken? She'd asked, gesturing to the chair. It's yours, I said. We chat briefly before the lecture starts. Her name is Claire Donovan. She's an architect, 43, recently divorced. Still learning to be just me, she says with a self-deprecating smile. Instead of half of something. I understand that feeling. The lecturer discusses how artists must be vulnerable to create authentic work. A quote hits me hard. Authenticity requires the courage to be seen, not as you wish to be, but as you are. I think about Bridget, about myself, about the marriage we performed while hiding our true selves from each other. After the lecture, Claire and I end up at a nearby coffee shop. The conversation flows easily, natural, unforced. "Can I ask what ended your marriage?" she asks, then immediately backpedals. "Sorry, that's too personal." "No, it's okay." I pause, considering how much to share. Then I decide on honesty. She gave the real parts of herself to someone else. And I realized I'd been doing the same thing, giving my real self to my work, my clients. We were both performing for each other. That's incredibly honest. I'm trying something new. Radical honesty, even when it's uncomfortable. She smiles. "How's that working?" "Terrifying, but real." We exchange numbers before leaving. No promise of a date. Just, "I'd like to talk again." I'd like that too. Walking home, the February air is still cold, but the sun is bright. I think about Bridget's question from months ago. Did you love the real me? I realize now. I loved who she was with me. And that was real, just not complete. She had parts of herself she couldn't share with me. I had parts one couldn't share with her. That's the tragedy. Not betrayal, but incompleteness. I stop on a bridge over the Mississippi. The river flows beneath ice. Dark water moving under frozen surface. Something alive beneath something frozen. That's me now. Still frozen in places from the pain, but moving underneath. Slowly thawing. The part one believed in. I've spent months thinking about that phrase. What I believed in wasn't actually Bridget. It was the possibility that someone could be fully themselves with me. That emotional intimacy was achievable. That marriage could be a place of complete authenticity. She didn't destroy that belief. She revealed it was always partly fantasy. But maybe that's okay. Maybe complete authenticity isn't the goal. Maybe it's enough to find someone willing to try. To be brave enough to share the real parts, even when it's hard. I'm not there yet, but I'm learning. She gave someone else the part of me I was still believing in. But maybe, someday, I'll believe in it again. Just more carefully this time. More honestly. Dear listeners, that's our ending. If it resonated, subscribe to support the channel. See you next time.